trying to see if this video is going to start. Hello, hello. I'm hoping that these earbuds are working. I've been receiving some messages that my voice isn't carrying, and it's hard to hear me through the video. So I'm trying a microphone earbud that hopefully will help with that. What I wanted to talk to you about today is really my ascension story. And everyone's ascension story is going to be different. The common vein that I have heard from other people is that it usually revolves around a rock bottom situation in their lives. 3-4 years ago, my marriage ended. It was not something I was expecting, and it was painful. I had been through a divorce before, and that marriage was not the healthiest of relationships. It was a long-term marriage over, pushing 20 years. And I married very young and was not prepared to deal with my first husband's trauma and the experiences that he had endured, which also led to a lot of his passing that pain along. But being that I had been through a very rough marriage, and by the way, he and I were all's forgiven. It's water on the bridge over the dam. He's not the same man, and I know this. We co-parent wonderfully now, and a lot has been completely forgiven. And it's because of the story that I'm getting to. I was able to go backwards in my life and really heal a lot of that trauma. But my second husband, we're going along like you normally do in a marriage. 5 years in, everything's seeming good. And, it was just a knowing that I had that something was up and nothing shady was going on. He was a great provider and still absolutely one of my best friends. We're still thick as thieves, We're birthday twins as well. So anyone who follows astrology knows that he's like the male version of me. So sometimes that's a good friendship that makes for a good friendship, but not always the best of marriages. But he came to me and said, that he was interested in someone else. And of course it was, kick in the gut. I'm not made of stone. But in an instant, there was a realization in my mind. You knew what a bad marriage was. You knew what a traumatic, toxic relationship was. And this was not that. This man supported you, always had your back, always had your best interest, and, was just a rock and a foundation. So when he expressed this to me, it was a no-brainer. Was I always gracious? No. The beginning it was difficult. It was a transition. It's something your body has to adjust to, this new realization. But as soon as I made that, this is going to be okay, I would value the friendship over the relationship. I want you to be in my life in some shape or fashion. And if that means that I am no longer your spouse, then so be it. And like I said, I wasn't always gracious. And I have had a lot of people come to me, and my family and my friends included, and just in awe of how I could do that, making up their own scenarios in their head, or maybe you just didn't love him, or no, I was very in love, very much committed to my relationship. I'm a very loyal person. I don't break that loyalty easily. And so at the same time, I'm working at the Veterans Hospital. And for those who have been around the VA and have experienced what it's like inside the walls, it's not an easy place to work. Fulfilling, yes. I love my guys, and it's 90% guys. I've always been one to vibe on male energy, and I just loved every single patient that I had. But it was not long after starting there that they realized I have the gift of gab. I'm a natural counselor. I've been able to give people perspectives that maybe they weren't able to understand before, and break it down into terms that make it simple. And because of that, I was pulled quite frequently to every hard case in that place. Every PTSD patient that was on literal restraints. People coming into the ER, whacked out on drugs and refusing to let us treat them. And, I would take them into a room and talk to them for an hour. And, like magic, they would comply. And like I said, they saw me as that resource, and I was glad to fill that void. They needed that. But it also was extremely draining on me. I'm an empath, which makes me a great counselor and a great steward of my fellow man, is that I feel your pain. I feel that intensity. I can, walk into a room and just energetically feel what you need to know. And then having medical training behind it, one hand washes the other. So it was a great fit for me, but it was also very draining. And going through this separation at the same time was not an easy situation, and it damn near cost me my life. I dropped 60 plus pounds in 4 months and ended up having to leave my job because it was too much. My body was not handling it well. I've always been one to push through stress, but your body knows when you have to stop. And I didn't listen. I didn't listen for a long time. And it was part of this whole rock bottom experience was the fact that, I walked into St. Mary's Hospital frustrated with the medical system that I had revered. My father, a doctor, well-renowned, beloved doctor. And I've had the medical industry in such high regard since I was a child. My earliest memories are doing rounds with my father and hanging out the nurse's station. And I've always enjoyed that vibe of a hospital, the hustle and the bustle of it, and the healing. And to feel completely betrayed by the medical system, no one could tell me what was going on. No one could tell me other than, it's in your head. Okay, well, you tell me where the 60 plus pounds went, but that's in my head. Every blood test, every, panel they drew on me was inconclusive. And now I know, after studying and understanding and getting a lot of clarity from Elegua, my messenger, this is part of the ascension process. And it's not to break you down. It's not to test your mettle. It's not to punish you. It's to have you make a different choice. It's to have you listen to the messages that are being sent to you. You know what's good for you and what's not good for you. You know when you feel good and when you don't feel good. And so many of us will stay in jobs that are so physically draining to us, or relationships or situations that are so physically draining to us because we feel like we have to. And so leaving the VA and accepting the end of my marriage and being that, friend still to my ex. I mean, he's as good a friend to me. There was download after download after download of just, oh my God. I think I walked around in a daze, literally thinking that I was losing my mind, because your doctor's been telling you it's in your head. walked into St. Mary's and I said, either you guys figure out what the hell's wrong with me, or I'm going to go home and eat a bullet. No, not the best things to say to doctors. I'll land you in the psych ward. I counseled the counselors in the psych ward. They let me go. I obviously realized I was not suicidal. I did not have suicidal ideations. I was frustrated. I felt let down by the medical system that I had adored for most of my life. And I just felt like I couldn't do anymore. The living environment that I had moved from, I was in a stable relationship with my ex-husband. And then I moved into absolute chaos. I won't go into too much details on it, but you can just imagine it was the domino effect that I talk about. It was that one thing after the other. How much can I take of this existence? And I was damn near at my wit's end. I've been close one other time to this, at the end of my first marriage. Even though I was glad that ended, it was the realization now I am a single parent to a child with the propensity for violence, who is nonverbal, and I just didn't know if I could handle this. And it was a day-to-day struggle until I got to a point of, I got this, So to pick myself back up off the ground and start my life anew and have this situation occur again, it was just a knowing that this was the right response to have. It was, no, I'm not gonna be a bitch about it. This person was good to me. This person loves me, still loves me. Is it romantic? No. Is it familiar? Yes. Is he family? Always. But something changed, and I truly believe it was because I took a different response to old pain. I learned the lesson. The time I really didn't realize I had learned that lesson. It just felt like a natural thing. Like, you know what? Dude, you were good to me. You took care of me. I have no complaints. Go with God. It's okay. Do you? Bam. That was all it took. That's all it took. It was one step in a different direction. It was stepping outside of my own pain and looking at someone else's pain. And understanding the guilt that he felt doing this. We didn't fight. We didn't argue. And we're cut from the same cloth. So there was, it was being an empath helps. You can feel other people's pain and notice those subtle changes and things. But it was a Legua that came in and just boom, 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 boom. And my life has never been the same. Nor what I wanted. I learned in an instant. I am so grateful for every person who treated me unfairly. I'm so grateful for every hard lesson this world has taught me. There's a saying, I've never met a strong person that's had an easy life. My childhood, I won the orphan lottery. No shit. Could not have asked for better parents, and I was adopted at birth. So it could have gone anyway. But I chose my own route. I was given every advantage. But I decided to leave home at a young age and elope and get married very, very young. And of course, as a lot of us do. You think you're grown. You think you know everything. And I sat in that experience for a long time and suffered from it. But I learned what I was made of. And it was through healing. It was that forgiveness and that I felt for my last husband Once I received that clarity, I was able to just go back and say, you know what? I see the damage this person was under. I see the trauma that this person held. Now, is it fair to pass your trauma on to somebody else? No, we are responsible to heal our own shit. We are responsible for that. But if you don't know better, how are you expected to do better? If you have convinced yourself that this is okay, this is how I was raised, this is how I approach the world, so it's okay for me to do this to another person. If you are dealing with a generational curse, so to speak, I use that term loosely, but that's just behavior that's passed down. It is very hard for someone to see the error of their ways. And usually that's something that they have to process through on their own time. But I was able to make that connection really easily and say, you know what? I'm not going to hold that. I'm not owning that pain any longer. That is just a story in my book now. That is just a page that I can give to somebody else to help them. So I just wanted to give everybody a little feedback on how Ascension works for most of us. Okay? Yes, you can sit on a mountaintop in Tibet and om till the cows come home. And you will be one with God. Isolation and devotion. Some of the best gurus in the world have done that. But for the average person, the average human having a human experience, Ascension comes from overcoming and healing those pains. And typically it's a series of the same experience. As an adoptee, abandonment was always an underlying issue for me. The fear of being cast aside. I felt that with my first husband. I felt that when my parents divorced, which is one of the reasons I ran off and got married. I wanted that security. And I didn't get it in my first marriage. And then to have it happen again, it was like, okay. I feel totally blessed in my life. I don't feel like I've lived a terrible life now, because I have the clarity that comes with that ascension. It's not an easy path. But one of the things is, when you do know better, you are expected to do better. You are held to a higher standard. A lot of people talk about karma and, you do this, you do that. But if a person doesn't know better, then the karma isn't really affecting them in that same way. But if you know you're not supposed to do something, or you're treating somebody unfairly, if you know that and you haven't justified it in your noggin in some warped way, you feel that instant karma. You'll feel that come up that hey, that wasn't smart. So, that's my story. I'd love your feedback. I'd love to hear your stories. Like I said, I'd like to go live so that we can have this open forum and talk a little bit more. And I'm not saying that you go looking for pain to enlighten yourself. It's just that you need to be conscious of when these triggers, and we all have those things. We all have those triggers that just, that's that hurt before. Don't go back touching that area of my heart, because that hurt. And we build a wall, we're like, oh, I don't want to re-examine that at all. Well, that's not how healing is supposed to work. You really are, when you come through that initial pain, because nothing will hurt you as much as it does the first time you feel it. When you're able to go back and examine that pain in a proactive way, it is a game changer. It is something that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go through it, experience, find the value in the hardship, and then throw that shit out the door. But nobody, ow, that hurt. I don't want to go back and look at that again. I don't want to feel that again. I'm just going to pretend it didn't exist. And then what happens? Something inevitably will trigger it, because that's how spirit works. Hey, you're ignoring this. Guess what? I'm going to throw that situation back at you. Now we're going to see what you're going to do. And typically what happens is when that floodgate opens that hasn't been dealt with, hasn't been examined, and hasn't been re-examined, the shadow work hasn't been done, it just lashes out at the next person, you know? And it's so vital for people to be able to work on these traumas. You may never get an apology for trauma that was done to you. You may never get that apology. And you have to be okay with that. Because it's not about the other person. It's not about that person getting, that's a revenge aspect. Oh, well, they did it to me. I should feel like this. I'm allowed to feel this. Look what they did to me. It ain't about them. It's about you. You know? Don't curse yourself. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face because someone hurt you. So you want to own that pain. And there's levels to things. I spent a decade wearing my trauma as a badge of honor and a big ass shield. Stay the fuck away from me. Don't touch me. Don't come near me. I still don't have the switch when someone is attracted to me or tries to approach me in a romantic way. It's like I don't even notice that. Is that a defense mechanism? Maybe. You know? Am I a finished product? Hell no. Healing never ends. But it does get easier. You heal those big blockages. You work on those deep-seated pains. And then you have the tools to sidestep and heal anything that comes your way. Does that mean you're never going to feel pain again? No. Life has its ups and downs. It always will. It's how you respond. You may not be able to control what outward influences come at you, but you do have control over your response to them. You know? And then that does not mean being apathetic or not standing up for who you are. Use your voice. Be strong in your convictions. Stand up for yourself. Love yourself enough to allow healing in your life. Love yourself enough to know that you deserve to not feel like shit. You deserve to feel solid and whole. You know? Anyway, love you guys. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz. I'm still, figuring this whole form out. But if you have any questions, if you would like a private reading, if there's anything I can help you with, my door is always open. Feel free to find me on Facebook if you'd like to, through Messenger, Morningstar Intuitive Therapy. I have a page on Facebook. Just if there's anything I can do to help you through this process with you. You're not crazy. For those of you that have been through your dark night of the soul, for those of you who have taken a different approach and all of a sudden are having epiphany after epiphany and you feel like, oh God, the hell is going on? Talk to me. I have, experiences that may help you. Am I an expert in all things? Am I a clinical therapist? No, I'm not. But I've seen enough to know enough. And I've experienced a lot in my life, both professionally and personally. And I fully and completely understand the importance of owning your own shit, fixing yourself so that you're not spewing your trauma onto other people and continuing this cycle of pain. That's what this transition into this new vibration, and we'll get into that later. I'm going to go deep with y'all. But that's what this new existence is about, especially for me, my mission. It is ending this generational pain, breaking the chains, by spreading this news on how to do it, on love and forgiveness. Does that mean you have to be a saint walking on water? Hell no. It is about balance, though. My demons aren't dead, but they work for me. You know, they're there. My experiences would scare a lot of people, you know, and I didn't forget the experience. I'm just not emotionally bound to it. It's not my identity any longer. But trust me, I learned. I learned to protect myself through medical field, through personal experiences. And, you know, if that circumstance were to arise, you know, if I, for the sake of protection, you know, I could take care of myself. But that does not mean that I'm outwardly looking for opportunities to rage on people. No. But you know, it's not about that. It's about ownership of your pain, ownership of your experiences, and really understanding that we're spiritual people having a human experience is what it is. And understand that there's help to be had when you ask for it, whether it's me, asking a friend, asking a therapist, asking God, whatever. You're not alone. You're never alone. Y'all take care. Thank you.